Hello and welcome back again to another Archaeology 101 lecture. In today's topic I'll be looking at how humans developed the capabilities and the strategies to obtain and eat meat. The culinary story starts with the Australopithecines, a group of small-brained bipedal African hominids who appeared about 4 million years ago. The early Australopithecines, such as Anamensis, have had their diet compared to the modern gorilla due to similar dental striations. However, later Australopithecines, such as Afarensis, were capable of consuming meat, although how much they consumed we do not entirely know. We do not know also whether meat procurement became before or after tool use. There is no current discernible way to interpret this conundrum, but it has been suggested that Australopithecines eating hard seeds could have used stone tools to process, and then eventually, when shifting to meat, could then use the same tools used for processing seeds and vegetables, that they could use those to process meat. We know that Australopithecus afarensis is the first hominin that we have evidence of for using tools to process meat from bone, and perhaps smash bone as well to get at the marrow inside. It could be, as hominins evolved new adaptations, it allowed them to consume more meat, and I'll give you an example. The expensive tissue hypothesis by Aiello and Wheeler in 1995 states that a reduction in gut and liver size would allow for the expansion of the brain, while a smaller gut would be able to focus on digesting a higher quality diet such as meat, while simultaneously feeding a larger brain and being able to power a stronger brain function. Cooking meat is a phenomenon only known to humans, as we can no longer easily process raw meat. The advantage of cooked meat, however, is that it makes it easier to digest, more calories can be extracted from the cooked meat, and subsequently destroys potentially harmful bacteria that can make us sick or even kill us. It is thought that Homo erectus was the first to be able to command fire, and we can find this in Africa in the attractively named Wonderwork Cave. Fire was first used at least over 1 million years ago, if not earlier. However, the oldest hearths come from Gesher Beno in Israel at around 790,000 years old, and these display a more social and cognitive function than any of the contemporary Homo or the previous Australopithecines. But back to the original point. It is clear that meat continued to play a larger role in human species, and that brings me to the next part of the debate. The second part of the debate is how hominins and early Homo actually acquired meat. The evidence is highly ambiguous, with a fragile archaeological record the further you go back. It's not until Homo Heidelbergensis that we are certain that they are actively hunting, with some of the oldest confirmed spears found at Schöningen between 300 and 337,000 years old, in situ with horse carcasses. Anything before we're not 100% certain, but new evidence is being turned up all the time. It is thought that the Australopithecines most likely would have scavenged their meat, not likely needing too much in their diet anyway. Nevertheless, modern chimps are known to hunt smaller monkeys, and if the opportunity came about, it is probably little doubt in my mind or in the academic's mind that Australopithecines would have taken an opportunity when it came into their hands. An example is Dakika, Ethiopia, where marks on bone preceded by the tooth marks of a hyena. This indicates that a hominin got to the carcass first, whether through hunting and actually killing it, or actually just scavenging a fresh kill before other scavengers or the primary predator was able to get access to the kill. We're not entirely sure, as it is only a very small piece of the evidence. As Australopithecines evolved, meat most likely took it to a steady increase, still scavenging meat and processing with simple pebble tools. The more active meat eaters, however, most likely were Homo species. The first known Homo species to appear on the scene was Homo habilis. Dental wear analysis showed that habilis had a varied omnivorous diet, like most of the population today. In its behaviours and tool use, however, it didn't differ massively to the Australopithecines, using the same very similar pebble tools, old Owen tools. Habilis is thought to have continued to scavenge for its meat, although it has been suggested that they may have used a method called aggressive scavenging. Aggressive scavenging is where another predator, such as a lion, will make a kill, and then the group of humans may take this opportunity to drive the predator away from this fresh kill using numbers and ferocity. The benefit of this method is that most of the energy is used by the predator to make the kill, and not by the humans. The negatives are plentiful, however, as it is highly risky to accost a predator, especially at a kill site, and who may also come in large numbers as well. Other scavengers can also pose a threat, such as hyenas and other apex predators. Whether the slightly small Homo habilis standing around 5 foot was capable of this, we may never conclusively know. The most effective defense weapon in this scenario would have been spears, allowing to keep a long, sharp object between the human and predator. But as I said earlier, spears have not been found until much later in the human timeline, so let's presume Habilis had only got its little Oldoan tools. I do not believe that this lack of evidence would have prevented them from being able to scavenge aggressively, and perhaps this ploy may have been adopted by hominins like in the example in Dakika before, we're just not entirely sure. Once Homo erectus arrives on the scene, things become quite grey. While we don't have evidence of spear use, we do know that erectus could create fire, and perhaps use this as a method for driving animals into swamps, rivers, or off cliffs, where they can be trapped and butchered or they just fall to their deaths. This has been hypothesized at a site called Torralba in Spain, where erectus activity has been associated with bones of elephants, cow, and deers along with other animals, which is located on a river where possibly this fire drive technique may have occurred. Unfortunately, a lot of natural taphonomic processes have been pointed out to possibly contaminating the evidence, which is known as a palimpsest. What I can say is that if erectus can have the foresight to be able to construct a hearth and build a fire and live around it with its fellows, they can definitely have the cognitive ability to hunt. The physical evidence just isn't good enough to help back up the theory. The next evolutionary phase of Homo produced Heidelbergensis, almost certainly a hunter, with a good range of archaeological evidence to support it, most likely having to get up close and personal to kill their prey with their stabbing spears. Neanderthals who evolved from Heidelbergensis employed very, very similar means, with thick thrusting spears, and we can see the intense physical lifestyle on the skeletons of Neanderthals, which showed savage injuries and breaks, most likely from this physical lifestyle. It wasn't until Sapiens that distance killing with projectile weapons, such as lightweight throwing spears and arrows, came onto the hunting grounds. This is way more effective and safer than the other hunting methods, because it puts a good distance between yourself and the prey and reduces likeliness of injury. Our diets remain the same for thousands of years, until the invention of farming and secondary animal products, including milk and cheese. We no longer needed to hunt to such a great extent, or even scavenge. Nevertheless, there are ethnographic cases, such as an African tribe known as the Hasda, who employed aggressive scavenging as a main method of acquiring meat. This shows that ancient subsistence strategies are still in effect thousands, if not even millions of years after they have been invented. This demonstrates different groups of the same human species can employ varying strategies to suit their dietary needs, rather than following the same trends. What should be taken away from this discussion, however, is that hominids and homos, as they evolved physically and cognitively, so did their diets, and probably one influenced the other. I think I'll leave it there for today. Thank you very much for watching. If there's any more topics you wish me to cover, please write them down in the comments. But for now, I'll see you next time on Archaeology 101.